people. I'm Snipples. That's T.Whales.
I'm T.Whales.
Cartel Kill announcements. Now, as you may
CK.
have. What?
CK.
Ah. I thought you were dropping names. I thought you said TK at first. Like, we're not doing Digimon. What's going on here? So, you know, that thing we do where you talk about what we like or dislike. Well, we're putting a hiatus on that. We're just gonna jump right into it. I believe that's okay with T-Wells.
It's fine.
I wasn't asking.
You say you weren't, but you really were.
So, today, on Toonami Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, we take a look at the next thing in the Toonami lineup. The real adventures. The really real adventures. Jonny Quest.
Now, I would like to point out that this is actually a sequel to the new adventures of Jonny Quest.
What the hell is the new adventures of Jonny Quest?
It's what came after the adventures of Jonny Quest.
No. That can't exist.
It does. It came out in 1986.
You can't do this.
Had 13 episodes.
You can't. I know Jonny Quest. I know Real Adventures. You can't just introduce this new element.
It's always...
Not only introduce it, put it in the middle somewhere.
It was always there. Yes, I didn't know either. I always wondered, why don't they call it the new adventures of Jonny Quest? Because they already had that.
I don't want to sit here wondering about the continuity of Jonny Quest all day. So, let's get to the opening theme. Bruh. It is a large, sweeping theme with crazy drums that promises action and adventure.
I like it.
And it's really good.
Gets you hyped.
Now, the picture, like, the opening itself is super lazy.
Yeah, just images from the show.
Yeah. I'll just get this out of the way. The credits, super lazy too. Don't even bother with the credits. Like the end credits. I guess we know why it's called Real Adventures now, but calling it Real Adventures makes it seem like the former adventures never happened.
No, they did.
Now I'm wondering,
just
like,
not as you remember him.
Was Jessie in the new adventures?
No. She was introduced in this show.
Who's her mom?
I do not know.
Where did Ray get the time?
When we started this, like, I thought episode 1 would be her introduction. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's just like, you know what? They did the same thing with Haji. They waited till episode 2 to introduce Haji, and then they don't explain where he came from.
Oh, I'm sorry. They explained it before. Okay, so let me give you the timeline. Jonny Quest. The new adventures of Jonny Quest. Johnny's Golden Quest.
No!
Jonny Quest versus the Cyber Insects.
You can't
and
do
then
this.
The Real Adventures of Jonny Quest. Johnny's Golden Quest is a movie, and that's where Jessie Bannon was introduced. I just read it on the wiki. I was wondering, like, where she was introduced. That's where she's introduced at. Johnny's Golden Quest.
There's only Jonny Quest and the Real Adventures of Jonny Quest.
No, Johnny's Golden Quest.
No, all the rest of it.
No, Johnny's Golden Quest.
That's the Berenstein verse.
Johnny's Golden Quest. Also, Jessie Bannon. Look, this is when they changed the animation. Like, Jessie Bannon was introduced, like, in the old animation style, and she looks so much different.
A lot of people look different here.
Oh yeah, because they used it's Japanese animators for this one.
Well, that doesn't explain why Dr. Quest has black hair.
I know. I wondered that the entire time. I still don't know what's going on. I was like, when I saw him, I'm like, he had red hair, right? He had red hair. I'm not crazy, right? So I had to look up pictures. I think season 2 he gets red hair again.
Okay.
So he's probably dyeing his hair. He's dyeing his hair black. He's going through a phase.
Between the movie and this, he went through an emo phase.
Yeah.
Listened to Linkin Park for the first time.
Well,
Speaking of
this was in the early '90s, mid '90s. So yeah.
speaking of emo, let's get to the first episode, which is called The Darkest Fathoms. I like that name.
The Darkest Fathoms.
You know, it's because they use the word fathom. It's not a word that people use that much.
By the way, fathoms is used when measuring depth in the ocean. Am I right?
That's not how I use it.
Yes, it is used in reference to the depth of water.
There we
A
go.
fathom is 6 feet.
Now, this starts
Or about
with
2 meters for those people that are metric.
we don't care about them. This is America. This is Donald Trump's America. This episode starts with Pirates of the Caribbean 3. It's the pirates versus the Navy.
And I still don't get why that captain is called Horatio, but they're British. Like,
Maybe
I was all fine with it until he said,
Horatio.
blah, 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 Horatio. I'm like, hold up, what?
Maybe his parents are Spaniard.
None of them really had any good British accents. Like, Horatio had a little bit, but none of them held up an accent.
Please, you want to talk about accents? Let's talk about that third episode. So the pirates and the Navy are shooting at each other. And there's some couple of things that I notice here. You know, these are things that we like to bring up early on so we don't keep talking about them later. The animation can be very stiff at points.
Oh, yes.
And laggy at other points. And usually it's okay, but sometimes it happens. It also,
This first episode was pretty rough. It was pretty rough in the animation department.
The line drawings are a little rough, too. I mean, when you compare them, it's like Country Mouse and City Mouse. When you compare them to the background, the line drawings look rough. But they get the job done. So, here we're introduced to Black Jack Lee, who stole some shits. And the Navy doesn't like that.
Because he's a pirate. Because he's a pirate now. He didn't used to be a pirate. Now he's a pirate.
Yes. And this is explained during the scene where he's shoving this cannon in front of the Navy at point blank range, and he fires this cannon, and he misses completely.
He hits below them, and it's like, dude, really? You're right there. How did you miss?
I mean, the AOE should still have affected them.
It did. It knocked them back.
Yeah, the other thing, especially notable in this episode, that the theme song isn't the only good score. You know, the score in this episode in particular is very good.
It's essentially, this is if you haven't watched Jonny Quest in a while, but you watched Jonny Quest back in the day, you watch this episode and you're like, yep, it's Jonny Quest. Who the hell is that redhead girl? What is she doing here?
Yep, Jonny Quest. Everybody's dying. They're going to
people die.
It's refreshing.
It is so refreshing. Good to see it again. People dying.
Because in this even in this prologue, the pirate ship sinks. Everybody drowns. So after that, we get introduced to the second prologue, where there's some scuba divers in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, in the area of Bermuda Triangle, however you want to call it. Like, they're in the area of the island Bermuda. And deep sea divers.
They're looking for oil.
Yeah, they're like
with flashlights.
Yeah, I think they should work for like some kind of oil company, or they're like hired by an oil company to look for oil there.
With flashlights.
Well, no, they have those. They have those things to dig into the ground to see if any oil comes out.
I didn't see those things.
You didn't see it? Yeah, like the guy, like They took a hole in the ground, like poked it and drilled into it to see if any oil would come out. But then the plot immediately changed to the ship. So yeah,
And I have to say, I like how this episode begins with people in scuba suits, considering how important that is to the Johnny Quest mythos. So as this is happening, they get attacked by ghost pirates and a ghost ship that fires cannons but also continues to miss every single shot.
because they really don't want to kill them. They just want to scare them off, Scooby Doo style, with live rounds.
We don't know that. Because I will tell you that if they aren't dead now, Johnny Quest killed them when they escaped later. So either way, they're dead. uh, so they get attacked by Blackjack Lee. But wait a second. Blackjack Lee died on the sinking ship years ago. How can this be possible? Also, like to mention here that they don't look like ghosts and they don't look like zombies. They look like regular people. Just for our listeners to get a sense of what's going on in their imaginations. It looked like people were dying, like in this scene, but it seems to me like the fog is all around. So if they are killing people, you don't see it, and I think that's a very intelligent way to go about it. That's a very intelligent way to go about animated murder. If they're being killed, we don't know. Now, while this is happening, the hot water is cut off from the scuba men, so they freeze to death. That sounds so macabre. Like, that might be the worst death of these 3 episodes. Might be. So finally we're introduced to Professor Quest. They call him Benton.
Dr. Benton Quest. That's his full name.
Yeah, they call him Ben and Benton most of the time during these episodes. And I always just call him Dr. Quest, so I might go back and forth on that. We see Johnny and Haji training to escape ropes, which is a great idea given their history of being tied up. I can't believe it took so long for them to do this.
It took them years. Look how old they are now.
And yeah, we see Grace's daughter, Jessie.
By the way, her mom is called Jezebel Jade.
Jezebel is not a good name.
Well, that is her name.
Like, that sounds like an insult. That's gotta be an insult. And anyway, they get sent on this mission. Well, the one surviving guy from this whole thing asked Dr. Quest for his help. So they go to the Bermuda Triangle via their own boat, and that boat has a sub connected to it, and they go down via the sub to figure out what's going on. And while Haji is piloting the sub, Johnny and Race scuba dive to the ocean floor. There's this moment where Haji's talking to Jesse about being a Yu yogi, but he's not a Yu yogi. He's a we yogi, which clearly reminded us both of Yo Yogi.
God damn it.
You can't escape. And I have to wonder, like, naturally, you imagine these real things, you yogis and we yogis, but I hope not, because that sounds lazy. It sounds like they just took you and we, and then the ultimate form would be the us yogis. So what are yogis? They don't explain it. They don't, because it's Haji. You never explain Haji. I believe in the real adventures, to my recollection, there are Haji-centered episodes that finally pay off uh, all the Haji stuff that's been going on since the original Jonny Quest. Now, I find it interesting that Dr. Quest, he's a scientist that doesn't completely disregard the existence of ghosts. Instead, that's Johnny's job. But it doesn't matter because he gets attacked by the pirates through the mysterious fog. And they kidnap Dr. Quest while missing all of their bullets, but cutting off the hot water. That seems to be their MO. Having heard all the crazy interference going up topside, Johnny and Race decide to get back up as fast as possible. Especially when Haji tells them that they have no hot water and they might freeze to death. Unfortunately, Johnny gets stuck. Reese tries to save him, and in doing so, he takes a cannon to the face.
He's a boss.
I need you to understand that he takes a whole, complete, entire cannon. Not a cannonball, not a little piece of a cannon. A whole cannon smashes into his face, and he survives. He only gets knocked unconscious. You gotta wonder what type of training that is. Like, I want to see the early days of race. Now we're gonna train you to do everything. You're gonna parachute out of airplanes. You're gonna shoot
He worked
terrorists.
for the
You're gonna cause
CIA.
random explosions, and you're gonna take cannons to the
Look,
face.
there is a reason that Brock Samson is based off of him.
So Johnny Quest is trying to drag him now back into the ship, and he hooks him up into a pulley that Hachi lowers at the in the ship. From the ship, that's what I was looking for. And they draw Race back into the sub. Meanwhile, Haji saves Johnny at the last minute because Johnny can't hang on. He's too cold. Yeah, when they remove the mask, when they remove the helmet from Race, he's bleeding like all across his head. Again, pretty edgy for a cartoon these days. Even cartoons that are just chock full of violence will not have blood anymore.
True.
And Johnny, when he takes off his helmet, he just looks like he was making out with the cast of Frozen.
Oh, the
He's
blue
like
lips.
frost
Yeah.
all over
Well,
his lips.
something about this show. I don't know if it's like that in later or season 2, but these first few episodes, they have really pronounced lips.
Yeah. I mean, especially in this first episode where
Yeah,
you notice it because they turn blue.
yeah, you're like really noticeable.
You
Like
can't really
they
ignore.
really they don't usually like draw like all the lips like that in shows, or they don't like separate them like so much like that. But they really pronounce it in the show. Look, they have lips. It's really it weirded me out the entire time. You never in animation you never draw the whole lips like that. You put
Yeah,
this
I
looks
think
weird.
it didn't affect me that much.
Look, I'm looking at pictures right now of later seasons. They do not have that. They fixed it. So, this is the first episode, so I'll forgive it, but God, I don't remember it being that bad when I was younger.
After they get back to the boat and they realize that everybody's been kidnapped, Johnny leaves to get help. And this is the point where I realized that his voice actor could use a little extra training.
Well, once again, just like everything else in this series, it's just the beginning. They get better.
None of the rest of them need to get better. It's Johnny. Johnny is the weak link.
No, everything is horrible.
And the problem is exclamations. Like, he's half-assing all of the exclamations. Like, if we saw, if there was a script and the script said, "Yeah, let's get him!" Exclamation mark. Johnny Quest would be like, Yeah, let's get him, guys. I can't be more excited. You're Johnny Quest. Ugh. Anyway, he leaves to get help, and he fucks up the boat because he's Johnny Quest. And part of being Johnny Quest is fucking up. You do as many bad things as you do cool things. And that's not that doesn't get any more obvious than in the second episode. But here, he fucks up the boat, he finds the spotlight, so he waves it down. Spotlight turns out to be connected to the pirates, and it's the pirate ship. So they're looking for Johnny now, and Johnny magically finds this one singular spot of shallow water. He pretends that he's drowning and he needs help. The pirates drive into the shallow section of the water, which wrecks their boat and magically causes an explosion that kills everybody. Just like the first episode of the original Johnny Quest.
Hey, they're making callbacks.
Yeah, and here's the best part about it. Johnny does not give one fuck that he just killed like 10 people. He
Do
doesn't
you know how
care.
many people he's killed as a child?
You know, from what I've seen, he specifically didn't kill a lot of people as a child.
Yeah, but
He says that for everybody
he's
else.
killed enough.
He just watches people die.
He's killed enough.
Here, yeah, he's grown up to be like, well, my dad kills people and Race kills. I'm gonna kill people too. After that, Black Jack Lee shows up and clubs him in the back of the head. Why didn't he kill him? Who knows? I mean, actually, after this, you see Johnny and he's hogtied, and you know when people are hogtied, you just assume that their captor is going to molest them. So that's probably why. I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of hardcore stuff in this cartoon. Now, fortunately, as foreshadowed, Johnny has is in the process of mastering the art of untying himself. So, after freeing himself, he finds Dr. Quest and Jessie. He frees Jessie first, and she's completely ungrateful about it. And then they go up to well, I don't know. I was gonna skip over this, but I guess we'll talk about it. They overhear the pirates talking about their evil plan to scare their Scooby Doo plan to scare people off until they find the treasure. That's what they want. And while we're talking about that, since you did mention this before, I would also like to mention we didn't see any more people captured on this ship. So like I said, they're probably dead.
Yeah. I'll give it to you. I'll give that one to you.
So what they find, Dr. Quest and Jessie and Johnny, is the ultimate rave party machine. It is one machine, and it has the fog, it has the lights, it has the projector, it has the sounds, because those cannons from earlier that always missed weren't actually being fired. It was just the sound of cannons. And Dr. Quest decides, we can use this to our advantage. So he takes over the machine, and then he goes to the bottom of the boat, and he takes an axe, and he cuts a hole through the bottom of the boat with his axe like a boss. But that's not it. That is such a minor thing as far as what's happening in this climax. Because after axing his way to the bottom of the boat to cause the boat to sink, Black Jack Lee, in quotation marks, shows up and he takes the axe from Dr. Quest in a struggle and he throws the axe at an explosive thing. I really wasn't paying attention what it was, but it's an important ship part that explodes. And Dr. Quest and everyone else escapes topside. They lock the door behind him. The door is made out of metal. Lee cuts down the metal door with his axe. And you might be thinking, like maybe if he swings it enough time, yeah, eventually he'll get the axe through the door. No. Every swing, the axe is going through that door. The strength. Naturally, just like the very first episode of Jonny Quest, the ship explodes, everyone dies. Not a lot of what happened is actually explained. Like, why does this guy look exactly like Blackjack Lee? How did
He,
he...
I don't know. They probably like heard about his description or whatever, and it's like, oh, I look close enough like this guy to pull it off.
So you're gonna get this super rave party machine, get a bunch of criminals, drive a ghost boat into the Bermuda Triangle, and try to steal this man's treasure because you look like him?
Yes. Obviously, it belongs to you if you look like him.
Well, now that the Quest gang is, all back together, and the pirates have been defeated, they themselves go back under the water to find the ship. Unfortunately, they trigger something when they step too close to the ship, and it sinks further to the bottom of the sea. And what do they see on the ship but the ghost of Blackjack Lee? Yeah, that rhymed. I'm good like that.
None of that was planned.
No. So that was the first episode. And, like T.Whales was saying before, first time you watch this, you can't help but think, yes, this is Jonny Quest. This is nothing but Jonny Quest. That kind of changes in the second episode.
Yeah, in the second episode, they introduced the new thing for the real adventures of Jonny Quest, and
the new.
boy, did it not age well.
This is called Escape to Crest World, and a couple of things. Like you can tell that Crest World is probably what they were most excited about in this series.
Well, yeah, it was the big thing. It was the new gadget,
Yeah.
the new hotness.
It's the new hotness. It's the major reoccurring villain, and it's the basis for the opening and closing credits. I mean, they were so excited about Quest World. I'm actually surprised that they got the other elements right. Because this could have very easily have been, just a Quest World cartoon.
God, that would have been horrible. Beast Wars was better.
Honestly, I mean, it's bad. Okay, it's worse than a reboot, but looking at the animation and the line work, I honestly don't think they had that high of a budget, especially not in these early episodes.
Oh yeah, no.
Which again makes me. I mean, the score continues to be very good, and this episode starts with a very nice jazzy theme with a cool city backdrop.
Yeah, because it's long ago when Race Bannon still had colored hair, and when he worked for the government.
And here's a problem that I have. Honestly, I have this problem in all the episodes because for the 3 episodes we've seen, this continues to happen. There's a huge time displacement issue. Like when this first happened, I didn't know what time it took place. I had to think about it for a little bit. Like, okay, this must be a prequel. This must be taking place in the past. Because they don't tell you what
The beginning
what
of
time
it?
and setting this stuff takes place.
At the beginning of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this,
Yeah,
in
it
the
seems
beginning
like
of the
every
other one.
episode always starts off long ago in the past.
Yeah. But then the other thing is the transition to the present
There's none.
is
There
seamless,
is none.
right? So, yeah, you don't know when the present's gonna be. So it gets a little confusing. Like, okay, this is a flashback. Wait, now it's not a flashback anymore. Could you, like, have a black fade out screen or something? Just to signal that, okay, that was in the past, now we're in the present. Like, just give me something. But they don't do that at all in any of these episodes.
Especially that in that third one, boy, here you more time passing you would have thought.
Yeah. So here, Race is Roger Smith. He's the negotiator. And he's dealing with a scientist that's threatening to unleash nerve gas on innocent civilians. Why? Because they pulled his funding. Why? Because he's creating nerve gas to unleash on innocent civilians. It's circular. So, they don't tell you what Racer's actual position is, but he's obviously the leader of a whole bunch of shit. Like, but he's the man in charge right now. He seems to have a SWAT team at his beck and call. And they track down this scientist. I'm just gonna call him Surd. That's his name. I'm just not gonna put that out there.
Jeremiah Surd.
Surd. What type of name is that for real? Surd.
I don't know.
They track him down at his boat base because Jonny Quest equals boats, and the SWAT team attacks. Explosions and death follows. The goons attack with guns, and the goons and the SWAT team they fire at each other. There's a firefight with guns. You remember when cartoons had guns? Remember when they were allowed to have guns? Yeah. This is super nostalgic for me.
Old
Cartoons
school
used to be so
cartoon
different.
violence when they would assume kids aren't idiots.
Alright. So at this point, and I love this part. Like, you want to talk about how serious Jonny Quest gets. A helicopter shows up to attack the ship, and a man shows up, shoots the helicopter down with a bazooka. Everyone in that helicopter is dead. Reyes fights the guy with the bazooka while simultaneously taking out Jeremiah's woman. But he doesn't shoot Jeremiah because he's unarmed. At least that's what he led Jeremiah to think. But then the SWAT team just busts through the ceiling and they shoot the hell out of Jeremiah. Shoot him in the legs, they shoot him in the shoulder, and yeah, they get him in the spine. So now he's paralyzed.
Yeah, but Brace is like, no, don't shoot him, please.
No, don't shoot him, please. Stop. This is inhumane. Is he dead yet?
No, he's not dead. Damn.
They do think he's dead though. Everyone says that he's dead, but actually they send him to an insane asylum. Why don't they just kill him? Who knows? And I guess the superiors sent him because Grace doesn't seem to know that they sent him to an insane asylum.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm done with this. Now, skipping ahead to the future, we have these construction workers, and they bulldoze this building, and the nerve gas leaks, and they die. You know, death via nerve gas is a pretty gruesome death in and of itself. I mean, just conceptually, like freezing to death underwater is pretty macabre. Because, you see, even though they stopped Surge from unleashing the gas, they never figured out where the gas was. So it just stayed in this building, which I assume remained empty for years and years until the construction tried to bulldoze it down, and then the gas was unleashed.
So they knew this stuff was there. They they knew he had some stuff hidden out there. Why the hell did they let him do any construction there at all? Who permitted this? Who in the office got fired that day?
You know what? As with most incompetent government officials, probably nobody. Uh, so the government comes to Dr. Quest and they want to hire Race to deal with the nerve gas. Because Race knows Dr. Surd. And Dr. Quest decides to join him because they're best friends. Or something. I mean, they used to have a professional relationship, but now they're best buddies. And also, Johnny's probably gonna bang Jessie at some point, and she's gonna get knocked up and have his kids. So they might as well look out for each other.
Sure, why not?
Honestly, like given the two options that Jessie has before her, I'd rather she end up with Hachi.
No, she don't want that dark meat. Don't want to disappoint her parents.
But he's magic.
Don't want to disappoint her parents.
Race?
Yeah.
Race practically raised Haji himself. But as soon as you start dating him. Anyway. Uh, while they are in the building, they accidentally trigger the gas. Since they're in hazmat suits, they're good. For exactly 22 hours. Meanwhile, Race finds explosions. And while this is happening, the questlings are at the base.
That's a good name for him.
Thank you. And here's when things get incredibly stupid. So stupid.
Let us begin.
Alright, so Johnny decides, hey, they need our help. Because obviously, Race, the super bodyguard that used to work
Proto
with
Brock
CIA
Sampson.
and FBI.
Proto Brock Sampson needs our help.
Yeah, and Dr. Quest, who's essentially Reed Richards, the smartest guy alive, need our help with this. So we're gonna find Surd, even though everyone thinks he's dead. So they use the Quest computer system, which how invasive is that computer system? Like for it to hack into all of those databases so easily?
How does Questworld allow them to do that? They don't explain. You know why? Because no one knew how computers worked back in the 90s. Early 90s, we didn't have as many tech savvy kids.
This is true. We all had to use Netscape Navigator.
We all had to freaking use dial up back then. I
Man,
didn't get a computer until 98, till after this show was done.
there is no way the computers in this cartoon use dial up.
Hell, they have. Do you see their laptops? Their laptops are too small for that time.
That would be like this episode would be completely different. All right, I'm jacking in the crust world.
Well, is there a telephone?
I'm still jacking in.
Is there a telephone line here? Is there a telephone line here? We don't got one Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi doesn't exist.
Wait a second. Who's on the phone? It's just I'm trying to jack in the crust world. Anyway, we find out that Surge's being held in an insane asylum. So that's where they go. And they break in. We don't see how or why. They just do. What makes them think this is a good idea? That's what I want to know. This is the man that wanted to nerve gas thousands, maybe millions of people.
Downtown Chicago.
Just because he's not getting as much money as he wants. And then, in the prologue, he was like, "You're gonna kill innocents of people." It's like, ha! Compared to me, they're just ants. This is the guy that you want to deal with.
You're very
But
stupid.
it gets dumber. All right, because they make a deal. They're like, all right, you're quadriplegic, quadriplegic, quadri quadriplegic. That's correct.
Quadriplegic, yes.
Good, good, good. Um,
He's handy capable.
if you help us out, we'll let you go into Quest World, where you can just roam around just like you had hands and feet.
Also, your virtual self will look nothing like you.
Not even anything like his former self.
Exactly.
And, if that's the deal that they were going to make, how the hell did they know he was quadriplegic?
You can go to this badly rendered CGI landscape that you will immediately know how to use and control.
He agrees. And, because they give him a little taste. He's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. All right, I'll help you out. And so, they're like, cool, now we're going to break you out of here. They never needed to do that. He could help him. He could help them from right there, and then they could give him Crest World from right there. They never need to break him out of the insane asylum.
They didn't get a good signal.
But we saw them. We saw him just enter Quest World. The signal was pretty good.
Shh. Fight
So after breaking this man out for no reasons, they get Surd, tell them how to deactivate the nerve gas. Guess what? Surd lies to them.
Doesn't
They
he?
cut the wrong
Wait,
wires.
wait. Does it like I might have missed something there? Like, didn't they leave him with access to Quest World? Isn't that like how he got in contact with his people or whatever?
They did leave him with to access, but he wasn't in there at the time. But he could access it.
Fucking idiots.
They really are. Um, so Surd lies to them and tries to get Dr. Quest and Race killed. And after they cut the wrong wire and get hit with the gas, no, there's like a minor explosion that makes Ray think that he might have a hole in his suit. Sir goes through Questworld to call his henchmen to come save him.
He is sorry. I was trying to talk, but I was coughing in my mouth at the same time. I want to know why these people still work for him. That
Well,
lady, like it's been years, lady. Why are you still wanting to hit that quadriplegic ass?
I
That
mean,
that that must be love. I just want to know why she didn't break his ass out.
I think he probably just has a really big dick. But that doesn't explain the henchman. Or maybe it does. Anyway. So the henchmen, they come and they throw like a smoke bomb and they take Surd away. And here's the thing that I find absolutely amazing about Surd. He was a chemist. How the hell is he just
No,
the best
he
programmer
he's an
ever now?
intelligent guy and therefore knows how to use computers.
He's not the greatest programmer slash hacker of all time. All of a sudden. He was a chemist, then he went into an insane asylum, locked away from the outside world, and now he's the greatest programmer slash hacker of all time.
I think you're thinking too much into this. You need to calm down.
Like, when you think about it,
Uh,
that happened so long ago, right?
yeah.
That computers have evolved significantly since then. And computer language has evolved. And we don't even know which language that they use. So even if he was
They
a
don't. No, no,
programmer,
no, no.
he couldn't have been.
None of that exists. It's just computers.
But his computer mastery, it even gets more absurd from then on. Okay, so while this is going on, Jonny and Jesse go into Questworld to find Surd. Alright? And they do find him. However, he uses magic missile, which takes away all of their HP. And Haji, fearing for their mental safety, pulls out, is it a battery? Is it a server? I don't know what he pulled out, but he pulled out something technological, which shuts down Questworld without shutting down Questworld. And this is how crazy good Surd is at programming. Before Surd, Questworld is just a video game. You get hurt, it doesn't matter, it's a video game. After, he hurts you in the game, he hurts you in real life. How do you program that? This woman, she comes out with like the burn on her arm from the magic missile. This man has the anti-life equation or something. They only really have one option at this point. So they go back into Questworld. And I'm not even gonna bother explaining what happened because it makes no sense. Like, they don't explain the rules of Questworld, and even if they did, Sturt is breaking them so hard that it doesn't even matter. Just know that there's some kind of weird CG struggle. And you're not actually trying to beat him, they're just trying to track him at this point. Which is what they do. They track him back to his lair, which is in a moving truck. Very intelligent. And this is how crazy it is. When they find him, he already has a room-size Questworld computer system. Custom made. It hasn't even been 22 hours yet. Because if it had been a day, Dr. Quest and Race would have died already. It hasn't even been, like, how? How? I need to drink now. I need to swallow all of my confusion. So they find him in his Questworld machine slash chair slash supercomputer. And he calls Lorenzo for help, which leads to nothing because Lorenzo shows up and is like, your boss is quadriplegic. We can just beat him up anytime. If you shoot that gun, you might shoot him or any one of these cables, so you can't do anything. And after that, Jonny calls his dad. And he says, listen, we have Surd. Surd is going to tell you how to fix this. Because that worked so well the first time. Okay? And it comes down to two wires, as it always does. A red one and a blue one. And Surd is like, cut the red wire. And Jonny's like, you heard the man. Cut the red wire. And I'm like, you can't be this stupid. You can't be this stupid. He got you exploded once. If Race wasn't the type of guy that could take a full-blown cannon to the face, he would have died. Fortunately, this is one of those cases where Dr. Quest is as smart as me and far smarter than Jonny. Because he cut the opposite wire. And after that, Lorenzo and Surd escape. So, the nerve gas, that's all taken care of. Lorenzo and Surd escape. They don't mention them again. They don't go after them. They're just gone. Okay. And I like how it ends. Because Johnny's like, for the first time, it's a good thing you didn't listen to me. And Dr. Quest is like, ha ha ha, yeah, you fuck up. Not listening to you is like the best idea I've ever had. So yeah, that was this episode. It's basically Johnny and Jesse make incredibly dumb decisions. It introduces you to Quest World, which is going to be a major part of the series from here on out, but it doesn't really explain what it is or how it works. Like, why in the world did they give it to him while it's connected to the internet so he can do whatever the shit that he does? You know, most of this was kind of just set up for what's to come. But it's not good setup. This is definitely the weakest episode of the three, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have...
By the way,
yeah.
Quest World is no longer 3D in season 2 because the company that did the CGI bankrupted.
Huh.
So it became 2D animation.
See, I honestly thought I saw season 2. And I may have seen some episodes of season 2, but as far as Quest World, whenever I remember it, it's the CG.
I know. I remember it too, and I remember also seeing it 2D, and I'm like, wait, hold on, what? But I was a child and wasn't paying attention.
So the third episode is called In the Realm of the Condor. And you see this white guy in the forest getting chased by natives. That's it. That's the prologue. I will say that he does the most nonsensical stay back, I'm scared pose that I have ever seen. And I can't really describe it. You kind of have to see it for yourself. It is pretty terrible, but in a very great way. It kind of looks like some C-Lab shit. After the white guy gets chased by these natives, we go back to the present, and we see Bandit for the first time.
I was like, yeah, that was my first thought too. It's like, oh, it's been a while.
You know, I was like,
just to remind you, after all that crazy CGI madness, that this is still Jonny Quest.
I was like, wow, how could I have not noticed that they haven't had Bandit in either of these first two episodes? I felt
too.
Now, Bandit, he definitely looks angrier than before. He's clearly not as playful. This is like Bandit after he got out of prison, Bandit. That's what he looks like.
He's living longer than he should have.
And you only see him at the very beginning, so enjoy it while you have him. And he's basically only used for foreshadowing. So, this woman shows up. Red-headed woman. And that's why Jesse's not in this episode. There can only be one. Her name is Sheila. Is it Sheila or was it Shyla? I hope it's Sheila.
What is this lady's name?
Sheila.
Oh, yeah, Sheila. Sheila? Shayla? Sele. It's Sele. Oh my god, Evangelion. Just call her Stella.
Anyway, she's looking for her grandfather. That guy? I still don't know. So let's just talk about this now. Was that guy in the prologue her grandfather? Or was that just some completely different guy?
Oh, want me to spoil it? Or they tell you?
You're not spoiling it for me. I've seen the episode.
Oh, well then, no. It was just some guy she heard about.
Yeah, it was just some guy. I'm like, we didn't even need to see that prologue. That was the most pointless prologue of the three.
The prologue was to build up, like, the introduction that we found out was a lie.
And here's the thing, and this goes back to me, pardon me. This goes back to me not knowing what takes place at what time. Like, was this the present, or is this the past, or is this, when does this take place? Sheila looks like about 30. And that guy in the prologue, he looks about 30. So for her to go around saying, that's my granddad, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. This is ill-explained. Um, so Sheila wants to get the Quest family to help her find her granddad. And Dr. Quest is like, nah, he's dead. We don't, nah, nah. We don't care. We don't care. I have better things to do. Right? We, we were going to play shuffleboard today.
I'm gonna re-dye my
And,
hair.
and so she's like, well, we heard there might be treasure. And then Dr. Quest is like, treasure, huh? That's fascinating. You might have to go save this granddad. I'm like, what? Like, as heroic as he's been.
Sometimes
He,
you need some treasure, yo.
so they end up going
Don't judge.
to.
You be doing the same thing.
I'm not as crazy as him. I couldn't do half the crap he does. They end up going to the Peruvian rainforest to track down this old guy. I forgot his name, so now he's just old guy. And to look for this treasure. And we see the guide, because they have a tour guide, who quickly runs away after seeing some condor totems. And remember before when we were talking about accents? Well, these guys have made up languages. And these might be the worst made up languages of all time. And especially for indigenous people, that does kind of come off as kind of offensive. But it's Johnny Plus, man. It's the show where people die and guns are fired and explosions. I mean, today, a lot of this would be offensive. Here's what this man sounds like. Chaka 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 chaka. That's what he sounds like.
Don't forget the clicks.
No, the clicks don't come till later. And yeah, there are clicks. Just African stereotype clicks.
But in the Amazon,
It's like for real, we're going back. We're doing that now. We're doing. Oh, come on, man. After the god freaks out, they take a nice, slow ride down the river until the currents pick up and threatens to end all of their lives. But they somehow survive, although they do get lost in the process. We see Haji, he's wearing a purple shirt, which is only important because it makes him look like Bruce Banner to me. Johnny finds this. He hears this voice of a screaming girl, and he follows it to find an anaconda about to eat the most feminine sounding child of all time. And he beats the anaconda with a stick. Now, I need you to understand that the anaconda that he's beating with this stick is very much like the anaconda from the movie Anaconda. This is not a regular anaconda. This is a giant snake monster beast that should be fighting Godzilla somewhere. Johnny beats it away with a stick. Okay. And upon seeing Johnny, the incredibly feminine child flees as fast as possible. Now, looking in the direction that the child had run to, they see condors flying in circles. So they decide maybe that needs to be their next destination. Their next destination means climbing up a gigantic cliff. And that's what I mean when I told you earlier. These people do things that I would never do. Not even for gold. And that's saying something. Because I'm Irish. And I might be part leprechaun. So, they end up climbing that cliff. But the condors don't appreciate them. So they're gonna try to kill them. At first it's one condor, but then the condor leaves to call all of his giant ass condor buddies. And during this whole mess, um, you know, as you can imagine, in an adventure, action adventure scenario where there's cliff climbing, people are about to fall. Fortunately for Johnny, as he falls, he kind of swings over to some nearby cave with a very
You
convenient
know, just so
cliff of its
happens,
own.
it just so happens to happen to be there.
Yeah, and everyone else goes after him because they don't know if he's alive after that or not. I mean, if he was dead, he wouldn't have actually gone into the cave. He would have died right outside of the cave, but okay. They're in the cave now and they're looking for Johnny. They can't find him. Sheila splits away from them, finds a golden switch that opens a door to El Dorado.
My mind immediately went to the movie El Dorado,
How can it not?
a
In
much
fact,
better version of this.
in fact, afterwards they find Johnny, and you see him being surrounded by these people, and that they were celebrating him. And my first thought is, he is their god now. uh, you know what? That's not entirely wrong, but I'll come back to that. Now, while this is happening, Shayla does, because I love that song. I love it so much. Um, she tries to steal gold in front of absolutely everybody.
I know, and I'm like, no holding back, Jesus, lady, no subtlety.
No subtlety, no plan. They just get pissed off and they lock everyone up. Fortunately, there's a secret hatch, and an incredibly feminine boy child shows up and helps them escape until Shayla takes them hostage. Now, it isn't long before everyone else realizes that uh, Sheila has kidnapped this kid. And Johnny decides, okay, all she wants is the gold. She doesn't care about her grandparents. She doesn't care about the condors. She's just here for the gold. She's lying to us this whole time, and she's super greedy. I'm going to turn that greed against her. So he takes one of the golden statues, and he walks up to her, and he throws the gold at her. And she lets the boy go to catch the gold. Because as we have explained, she's not smart at all. In fact, her original plan was to use the boy as a hostage so that she can trade him for gold. What she ended up doing is using the boy as a hostage so that she can escape, in which she would receive no gold.
Didn't she immediately, like, all of a sudden get a Russian accent?
She's always had a Russian
Okay, I
accent.
think
Yeah.
I just started noticing it at this point, like near the end when she showed her true colors, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, mm, oh,
Now the accent makes sense. Communism. Uh, so she tries to catch the statue, and while she's doing that, Johnny tackles her. They both fall off the bridge that they're on, because I didn't mention that they're on a very pretty thin bridge
very,
with
very,
no lining or anything.
no.
And they're hanging on for dear life. She falls off to her death.
You don't see the splat, but you see
No.
pretty much up until that point.
And I really have to say, whoever drew the look of sheer terror on her face as she falls to her death, bravo.
Some Japanese or Korean or French guy,
That
or maybe a bunch
was
of them,
amazing.
a bunch of them.
Because there was there was nothing about the palpable fear on her face and her bulging eyes that was suitable for a children's cartoon. After Johnny manages to climb back up, the shaman reveals himself to be the grandfather that she was looking for.
Quote
Although
unquote
she's not,
grandfather.
yeah, she's not actually his grandfather. He doesn't know who she is. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know who she is. That's what I was saying, because this white man came in, and now he's the shaman. So they pretty much worship him in a very El Dorado fashion. They don't explain why he can talk to condors, but okay, he can talk to condors.
Yeah, that still doesn't make any sense, but okay.
And it ends with him telling the condors to carry the Quest family back to the civilized world, as long as the Quest family keeps their secret, which of course they do because they're decent people. And that's the end.
Uh-huh.
That's the end of that episode. That's the end of these 3 episodes. And now we sum up our opinions. And I'll let T-Whales go first because, you know, I spent all this time talking about these 3 episodes. I feel like you could get a general feel for my opinion. So that leaves people guessing about what T-Whales is thinking. So what is T-Whales thinking?
I was just thinking, man, I gotta go to work tomorrow. No, but this show, um, I, I don't want to say it's bad because I mean it's Johnny Quest. A lot of the stuff that doesn't have to deal with Quest World is pretty. It's like a standard Johnny Quest adventure. Stuff happens, people die, adventure. I'm glad season 2 that has less Quest World, and I'm glad at the end I finally animate it instead of. I mean, it sucks that company went under, but my God, the models can't stay still. They're moving around all over the place, flipping and flopping like they're quap. You know what I'm talking about. The way they move around in Quest World is so weird, and they can't stay still. They have to be like janky and moving around and stuff.
The animation
The
sucks.
animation for Quest
I
World,
mean, usually when we say the animation sucks, we're talking about, visually, but now we're talking about movement.
the movement,
Like, the movement of the animation sucks.
the artwork for the show isn't as good as I remember, but it's still pretty decent, and it's supposed it should from what I've seen of screenshots of later episodes, it does get progressively better. The show just didn't do quite enough to make it past 2 seasons. Um, but I liked it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I still think it's an okay show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Strike, what do you think?
Nobody cares. He's dead.
Well, he's right about a lot of things. You know, um, it's a flawed series, but it's Johnny Quest, and it gets the Johnny Quest parts very right. And in the end, I feel like that's basically all that matters. I don't know about the evolution of the animation. I didn't do that research. I think the animation definitely got better in these 3 episodes
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't as stiff as it was in the first episode.
Oh yeah.
And again, I it's very important. Like for me, what works is definitely the action adventure, pulpy Johnny Quest stuff. And one of the reasons I bring up the score and like how much I enjoy the music is because it invokes that. It invokes action adventure, you know. And this stuff kind of oozes action adventure. So there have been attempts at this. Um, things I can't remember the name of, because most of those attempts are pretty obscure now. But yeah, I still like T-Whales. I still enjoy the series. In fact, I will go as far as to say I liked it a lot. And given the choice, I would definitely watch more episodes. So I might go back and watch more episodes whenever I find the time later this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as these 3 episodes, man, it is a shame that we got Bandit for like 3 minutes in episode 3, and that's it.
And in season 2, they bring back like a lot of the older Johnny Quest villains and focus less on Zerd.
Well,
By the way, they
I can
kill
see
Zerd in season 2.
that.
I mean, they don't
uh,
really kill him. They trap his mind in Quest World, but he can't get out, and he can't do anything. So he's brain dead.
yeah, like before, like he's basically dead then.
Yeah,
Like if he's brain dead and then his body's, he's dead from the waist down and from the neck down. His body is so. I mean, that's everything.
yeah.
But you have to understand this is special. Johnny, Johnny Quest was special in its own way, but the real Adventures, it's special because there's never going to be a cartoon as modern as this with all the guns and killing and explosions and blood that this has. This is the last one. This is probably the last one that there will ever be. So, yeah, enjoy that. Because it's some brutal stuff. It was always brutal, but see, back then it was brutal, and Johnny Quest was a little kid, and it felt like a show to get little kids hyped. But now Johnny Quest is a teenager. Now it's a show to get everyone hyped. If you're watching it, it's there to get you hyped. Because it's not just for little boys anymore. You got Jessie. She's a girl now. That changes everything. So that's Real Adventures. I didn't know there were more Johnny Quest. We might talk about Johnny Quest again in one of its other non-existent forms.
I mean, you did. I think you did the Adventures of Johnny Quest. So the other things left as a series is the new
New
Adventures.
Adventures.
Because you're
Yeah.
not doing the movies where
No.
Jesse showed up. By the way, they made a point and click adventure game out of this series
How does this
of the
does it take place in Quest World?
no.
I'm about to say that a Quest World game is the opposite of what I need.
uh,
Let me look up what's next on this. Oh, actually, I know. It's Robotech, isn't it?
oh, we're doing Toonami twice.
Well, no. I'm just saying the next time we do Toonami is
Oh,
going to be Robotech.
let me find out.
Yep.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Back to my roots.
And it'll be my first time watching Robotech.
Oh yeah, because you've only seen Macross Plus.
And Macross 2, Do You Remember Our
I'm
Love?
so sorry you saw Macross. Robotech, it's essentially the same plot as Macross until the end.
So, join us as we have a veteran of Robotech and a Robotech newbie take a look at this series.
You're
It
not.
showed up.
You're technically not a newbie if you saw Macross Plus. You would know planes transformed, robots,
That didn't even have a war in it,
idols,
though.
war.
And anyway, as we continue to watch this series that I didn't even know came on Toonami. This stealth came on Toonami.
What, Robotech?
Yes.
I watched the entire series on it. I also watched part of the second series, which is technically Southern Cross, a completely different series, which is why I'm saying that until the end, it's Macross.
There's nothing else to say, so until then.
Until then.
Oh, also, I do want to say, Robotech is not the next episode.
No, it's just the next
It is the
Toonami
next
Tuesday.
episode after the next episode. And we do know what the next episode is, but we don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to think about it, because I have no idea what this is going to end up being. So until then.